Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to be talking about the updated Celestial Hypogean priority in my opinion now that Kulu has been released. We're going to be separating it into 4 different tiers. Number 1, the must-have tier, meaning every single player should have these heroes built up on their account. The next up tier are going to be, in my opinion, the next priorities once you have the must-have heroes completely built. And these next up heroes should be, again, most players out there should be prioritizing these after they have the must-haves complete. Then we have the PvP/niche category, heroes which can be very dominant in PvP, but for example have very little Dream Realm or even PvE usage as compared to the heroes in the higher tiers. And then finally the skip these tier, which are the heroes in my opinion I would not recommend anyone to be investing into currently in May of 2025. So let's begin with the twins Elijah and Lailah. Now since their release only around 4 months ago, the twins have taken over AFK Journey by storm. They are present in every single pre-endless and even endless Dream Realm boss team. They are always in the lineups because they are the best supports by far in this game, providing massive haste buff to all allies on your team and also providing huge attack buff to the ally on the Stellar Bond. This is why they are such a major priority. But along with that, they also have great AFK stage usage. If you take a look at AFK stages, almost every single recommended team is going to be using the twins as well. So the twins are the king of basically PvE content. No one comes even close to their throne. That is how good they are. And even in PvP, they're very strong because a Stellar Bond buff is huge value onto your hyper carry, for example, Athalia or even Talene. And also, if they can get off their ultimate, it gives your team a huge advantage with that haste. So overall, the twins are such a major priority. Every single player should be building them up, and without them, you can't even call the game AFK Journey anymore if you don't have the twins on your account. It's basically you just are. It's the most unrelatable feeling when you don't have the twins, based on all the teams which are currently being run, all involving the twins. So twins are really important. But along with that, Phraesto is also very important. I think Phraesto gets a bit swept under the rug, and even newer players don't see Phraesto as much, especially when you begin a season, you're in pre-endless bosses or you're the starter story. Phraesto doesn't shine until you make it to endless bosses, because that is when HP per second damage deals come online, and then you're going to see Phraesto in 5 out of 8 of the different top teams, maybe even 6 out of 8. This is what Phraesto does, and there's no one who can deal as much damage as Phraesto. Even when you're talking about Primal Lords, Phraesto is usually the top damage dealer for all Primal Lords. Apart from that, AFK stages, he is one of the best tanks for AFK stages. Without him, you can't put together a lot of the powerful teams. And even in PvP, he is a force to be reckoned with. He has amazing tanking capabilities, useful buffs for his allies with his Crimson contract, and then he also has some damage output of his own. So both of these heroes are major priorities for every player, and both of these heroes should be taken to Supreme Plus before you even consider talking about any other Celestial Hypogean in the game. That is my opinion. And a quick note about the ordering between these two. I think for an early game standpoint, getting 1 copy of the twins, making use of them at that 1 copy, then building up your Phraesto up until Mythic Plus, plus 10 exclusive equipment, and then going back to the twins, taking them all the way to Supreme Plus, and then finishing off your Phraesto all the way to Supreme Plus. That's, I think, the ordering I would recommend. Okay, now we have the next sub tier. So the next sub tier are also very meta defining heroes. Without them, you can get by to an extent, but it feels still bad. You don't feel like you're kind of like you're doing what everyone else is doing, right? So that's why these 4 heroes are the top. Phraesto, twins, Reinier, Harak. Once these heroes are basically complete, you can put together like 90% of top meta teams, whether it be for Dream Realm, whether it be for AFK stages. When you go beneath this, those are the more niche used heroes. And so that's why these are the priorities in my opinion. So Reinier is going to be the 3rd most important Celestial Hypogean. We're ordering them also in order on these rows, which are the most important. Reinier is going to be the best debuffer currently in the game. Also, he comes with some attack buffs to the position swap ally. This is very useful for Dream Realm bosses, and particularly pre-endless Dream Realm bosses. However, even in endless, when you have bosses like Thalassa, which only range damages can hit, Reinier is the best option. And so there is even usage of Reinier in endless Dream Realm bosses. But basically, if you look at almost any pre-endless Dream Realm boss team, it will almost always be using Reinier. So if you don't have Reinier, you're going to have to use the best no Reinier teams for Dream Realm, and those are going to be who knows how much damage lower than the overall top team. So that is why I still consider Reinier a must-have for every player's account. And the good thing about Reinier, you only have to get him to Mythic Plus. After he's at Mythic Plus, he has a debuff. He's not there for damage. You don't need to ascend him for his own stats or anything like that. Mythic Plus is basically, Reinier is completely done. You're going to be able to take almost full advantage of him. And now for PvP specifically, Reinier is pretty good in PvP as well. But for that, you would want to ideally ascend him to a higher tier. Supreme Plus or even Paragon is what people are using. But you can get like a value position swap, especially with the faction talent system and season tiles. If you have Reinier even on your defense, but you're forcing the opponent to either forgo and like give up their faction talent tile, or have them get swapped into a hero which you want to be swapped, that's pretty advantageous. And also Reinier has pretty good energy boosting mechanic to your entire team, which is kind of something I did not really realize until I read through his skills more recently. So that is why he's actually very good in PvP as well. Then we have Harak. So Harak is what I would consider the fourth hero. And now Harak is basically a bit in limbo. He isn't as important in meta as Reinier, but I also think he is a tier above all the PvP / niche heroes, because when you talk about Dream Realm, especially once we get to endless bosses, Harak is going to see a lot of use. Before we get Mythic Plus Magic Charms, he will probably be in 3, 4, maybe out of the 8 different Dream Realm boss top teams. And so if you don't have Harak, you're going to lose out there. Then even when we get to the endless Mythic Plus Charms, Harak is still going to be the best damage dealer, no doubt about it, in Plague Creeper, because summoning related bosses, and Necrodraken. And the thing is, if any time in the future more bosses that have summon mechanics or that Harak can take advantage of with his mobility, then Harak is absolutely going to dominate it. And then you have other game modes which don't really matter, but like Relentless Rumble, always using Harak. We don't know when there will be a future game mode where actually the performance would matter, and then Harak can be good at it. So Harak is still a very unique hero. He devours enemies really quickly, but he can also devour your own allies. So like that's the drawback. However, he ramps up in damage by so much that even when devouring his own team, he still is sometimes the best option for Dream Realm bosses. So Harak is that fourth hero. And the thing about Harak, he is also functioning in PvP. He also, for high deficit AFK stages, when we get to a high level, there are stages where if you don't have Harak, you can just not get the clear until you are way over leveled and you can run some other different comp. Harak is really important for high deficit AFK stages later on in the season. So Harak is just a really solid hero. We do worry that you never know when he can be Powercrept, but like we've always been worrying about that basically a few months after Harak's release, and he has so far been going strong. And yeah, so as of right now in the current meta, he is a meta hero, the number 4 hero basically in priority. Now we have the PvP and niche heroes. So these heroes are great at their roles, and they are great and actually even sometimes better than the top 2 tier heroes in PvP. So these heroes are really the PvP powerhouses, but for other game modes they're not as effective, and that's why they're more of a luxury that not everyone can afford, because the free-to-play light spenders generally they just prioritize the PvE related celestial hypogeans, like the top 2 tiers. The PvP investment is really big, and also then even when you upgrade a hero to Supreme Plus, it might not be enough. You might need a Paragon Ascended as well, which is very difficult for low spending players. So basically there are 5 heroes here. We're going to go through them briefly. So Athalia is the hardest hitting damage dealer assassin in the game, and even after death she can respawn as a Spirit Lance and continue dealing damage. And so if you have a very stalled, difficult to kill team, Athalia is just going to keep getting value, getting damage even if Athalia goes down. So Athalia is basically a glass cannon damage dealer with not any major drawbacks, because even when she dies she can still keep dealing her damage, but it is at a reduced amount. It isn't the 100% level. It's 65% basically of her original damage output, but it is still enough to actually kill and clean up enemies. Talene is very strong in PvP. But apart from that, Dream Realm, she's really been phased out. Now that we have Shamira as well as an AoE damage dealer, basically for AoE game modes, Shamira is better. For single target damage, Shamira is better than Talene. Talene has been really power crept by Shamira. But Talene is still top tier PvP. The fact that she can revive herself, she can act as a pseudo tank, taking that initial damage, revive herself, and all it takes is one Talene ultimate later on into the fight, and she's going to clean up the entire enemy team. She synergizes really well in regular arena with heroes like Tassi, Bonnie. She can spread Bonnie's debuff. She has high damage. So overall, Talene is a really solid PvP hero as well. And really for this tier, I can't actually explicitly say which one is better than the rest. I have ordered them based on my opinion of what I would probably maybe build them in. However, it is really subjective. They're all so close to each other that really you can build anyone and nothing is a wrong choice if you have already completed the top 4 heroes we talked about. Then we have Kulu. So Kulu has just come out, but she's actually been pretty interesting. For AFK stages, there's some stages which you will not be able to clear without Kulu unless you over level again, and so Kulu is useful for that AFK stages, at least early on in the season. Also, Kulu is really good for PvP because she can shut down enemy melee teams really hard. Also, if the enemy even has a ranged damage dealing team, she has a ranged defense buff onto her and her allies as well, which gives you basically a competitive advantage over the opposing team, even if you're both ranged damage dealers, even if there is no melee on the opposing team. So Kulu makes her own team even tankier, and Kulu begins with 300 pre-fill energy. She charges up pretty fast, and when she casts her ultimate, it is basically going to kill almost everything. So she's actually working even in regular arena. I've seen her used by my top 1 player in a regular arena, and also in Supreme Arena. She's great basically on all the top whale meta teams right now. So Kulu is really a strong hero, solid for PvP, good for AFK stages, but apart from that, not much use. And again, it is really limited to PvP. And when you would have to, like, for example, people are saying, should I recruit for Athalia? Should I recruit for Kulu? It is up to personal preference. Which one do you prefer? I prefer the gameplay of Athalia, jumping in, assassinating opponents, but Kulu has very good tech gameplay as well. And also when you think about long term, that the fact that she sets up that barrier in the middle of the map, she's just gonna hard counter any powerful melee hero that comes out, basically as a tech option. So Kulu has that going for her. Then we have Cryonaia. Cryonaia, another solid hero, and actually Cryonaia is seeing some niche use in Dream Realm. In some pre-endless Dream Realm bosses, Cryonaia is in the best comp, and we knew from the previous season she was in the best Snow Stomper team and one other team by a bit. So Cryonaia has some Dream Realm usage, especially paired up with Harak to devour her later, or she can just be killed by the boss who's strong enough. Cryonaia also has a bit of AFK stage use, not that much. Cryonaia is really good in PvP. Basically, if you can protect Cryonaia and let her get off her ultimate, she wins the fight for you right then and there. When Cryonaia casts her ultimate, it is game over for the opponent unless some miraculous thing happens, generally speaking. But the weakness of Cryonaia is if she can be interrupted, if she can be killed before casting ultimate. But that's why now we have crazy tankiness. We have like Kalin to protect Cryonaia, we have Ludovic to heal Cryonaia, we have Kulu to give range defense buff to Cryonaia and wall off the enemy. Is like, then Cryonaia is so well protected. How are you gonna kill her before she gets off her ultimate? That's what the top meta teams in PvP are basically running right now. And so Cryonaia has a lot of value, and when we get the Guardian spell artifact later this season, which is a massive damage reduction across your entire team, Cryonaia is going to be even better protected to do better. So Cryonaia is going to be a powerhouse this season in PvP. She already is. Then we have Dunlingr. Dunlingr is also a very powerful PvP tech option. Now for PvE content, you never need Dunlingr. He's a purely PvP hero, but he is so unique by denying the opposing ultimates, by preventing the healing to nukes to healing teams. Basically, there are some defenses that you can only counter by using Dunlingr on offense, but I do consider Dunlingr more of an offense hero. When you run him on defense, even the meta teams with players who have all heroes built on their account, Dunlingr is more counterable because basically you know what you're running into. If you put Dunlingr on defense, then you're just like, okay, I need to go for a non-ultimate dependent comp in order to clear this, and that's how you deal with him. But if he is on Cure Lock preventing your healing, then you just don't go for a sustain comp, you go for more of a nuking comp. So there are ways basically to counter Dunlingr when he's on defense, but on offense, you get such an advantage by using him. And really, there are some defenses which can be really difficult to crack, but by using Dunlingr, he basically makes it easy for you to deal with them. So that is why Dunlingr is a good PvP tech option, but no other usage in the game. Then we have the skip these category. Now, the reason I put these heroes here, you can use them. They can be okay. However, they are not as good. There's no question currently, and I don't see what could really change in the future that would boost these three heroes even up to the heroes we have in the PvP niche category. The PvP niche heroes are basically either really strong hyper carries or strong survival related damages like Athalia, Talene, super strong hyper carry best in the game Cryonaia, or really good tech options Kulu and Dunlingr. These three heroes in the bottom, they don't do anything as well as the other heroes. So like they are the ones you do not want to use. Dionel, he's a hyper carry, but he is nowhere near as scary as Cryonaia. Even if you have a comp fully supporting the Dionel, maxing out his damage, he can't one-shot enemy teams, and it's even harder now that you have like tankiness of Talene, you have healing of Ludovic, you have Kulu's range defense buff. Basically, Dionel is not strong enough to break through anything anymore. I don't know what can change to actually make him good again, but he's the weakest hyper carry. Then you have Scarlita. Scarlita still, she has major issues. Even though she got her Supreme Plus skill upgrade, you're basically fighting a 4v5. And like, the only way that works is if you run a really stalled team, basically of Athalia, Talene, Damien, heroes who are not going to die anyway. And then you just wait and you stall, and then Scarlita comes down and kills them. But that's really like a high investment team. You're going to be, and usually you want to distribute those heroes on other comps. And if you run Scarlita on any other version of stall, it's just not strong enough. So Scarlita still does not provide enough while she's in the air to warrant her stall on the team. That is my honest advice. And the only way she works is in a stall comp. And those stall comps, what is the best counter to them? You just bring in Cryonaia. You bring in Cryonaia and you kill the enemies before Scarlita can even descend. So Scarlita is weak, and the Supreme Plus skill upgrade didn't save her. It just makes her still below average, but not as bad as before. Then you have Berial. Berial is just not seeing any usage right now. Yeah, you just do not see Berial anywhere. Do not build him unless some miracle needs to happen to make Berial actually meta. And I don't think we're anywhere close to that happening. And actually, when you look at this, you get a really clear picture. Look at these three heroes in the skip these category. Three of them were the starter story heroes. This just is kind of proof that power creep happens. This game is going to be all about power creep. The heroes which are good today, even in PvP niche category, they will eventually be in the skip these category 1 year from now, 2 years from now. This is what happens in AFK journey and just games in this in general. So yeah, do not be investing into heroes which are the starter story heroes unless it's Reinier. Reinier still has PvP applications. Honestly, even Paragon upgrading Reinier for the whales is a really good investment because he has some really good mechanics for Supreme Arena, even regular arena. So Reinier is like the hero which has stood the test of time, and sometimes that will be the case. Even Phraesto as a damage deal for PvE content, he stood the test of time. He was released in the first season, Song of Strife season. He's still a top tier, must have. So yeah, some heroes do survive it, but the heroes which are already bad right now, there's no point investing in them now because they're only going to get worse. So now just one final note about Paragon upgrading. Paragon upgrading Celestial Hypogean is a very whale thing to do. The only way I would recommend that is if, for example, you're buying every single Stellar Crystal pop-up pack in the season, all the 800% packs, maybe even some of the limited time packs when a new Celestial Hypogean comes out. If you're buying all of these, then you can think about Paragoning. If you're not, and you're just like a free-to-play life spender, you're not buying the pop-up packs, your Stellar Crystal income is going to be way too low to Paragon Celestial Hypogeans. You should only focus on Supreme Plus heroes, and ideally make them PvE heroes. However, if you want to invest into one or two PvP heroes as Supreme Plus, you can go for that, and that is totally up to you which one you choose. But the other players, they will go for Paragon upgrades. And as for Paragon upgrades, any hero in this PvP / niche category, all 5 of these heroes, I would want to have Paragon 4 on my account. Honestly speaking, I would love to have them all Paragon 4. To skip these heroes, I would still not want to have any of them Paragon because it's just a waste of resources. Like, I would just not be worried about them. Basically, they, in the meta, they do not exist right now. So it's the PvP niche heroes. It can be the twins. Twins are also good. It can be Harak. Yeah, those are the big ones I would recommend for Paragon. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. That's going to be it for this one. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please smash that subscribe button. Also, feel free to join my AFK Journey Discord server. There's a link to that in the description of this video. And finally, if you're thinking about making a purchase in AFK Journey, please use my affiliate link for the official Farlight store. There's a link to that in the description of this video and a pinned comment. This is the best way you can support me at no extra cost to you. So thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now.